Everybody, it's Dragos from the same beautiful Canada. By the way, today we had 30 degrees plus Celsius, 30 degrees here in Toronto, Canada. So pretty cool for Canada, eh? So the reason I wanted to shoot this video is to share with you something effective and powerful in terms of information. I mentioned in my previous videos that I'm going through a very powerful book. It's called The 50th Law of Robert Greene and 50 Cent, or Curtis Jackson aka 50 Cent. And what I wanted to share with you today is about being in the flow. It is about fluidity and being in the flow. Many times we feel stuck in our endeavors, in our business, let's say, or whatever we do right now, or during our day-to-day activity, and we don't understand what is going on. We use the indicated techniques, we do whatever is necessary. However, things are not working, are not moving on, are not working the way we want. And this is about not necessarily not being in the flow, because everything is about fluidity. Now let's talk about the flow. Everything starts with letting go of the fear of controlling. This is a fear that we human beings were programmed with it since we were children. I think there is very rare a human being on this earth who does not have this fear of control and have that tendency to control things so that they don't feel that fear anymore. And because of this, many times people get exactly in the opposite direction instead of moving in the right direction. They are basically not in the flow. When we talk about flow, we need to understand that everything is in a continuous movement. Nothing stays still. So this is a universal law. So when we think about staying still or just stagnating, let's just imagine this, that I want to stagnate right now. I don't want to go, I don't want to move on, move forward, I don't want to move backwards, I want to just stagnate. It is absolutely impossible, because this is how the universe and the energy is creating. Everything is moving on. Nothing stays still. Nothing stays in the same time. You can go forward or backward, but you can't stay in the same place. Now let's go back to the flow. There are basically four important categories of flows. It is the mental, the emotional, the social, and the cultural flow. And I want to touch each one very short and brief, and I want to explain, and I don't necessarily want to give a technique, because every technique works different for each individual. But I will touch a bit about what is the way to deal with and incorporate basically every category of flow. So let's take the number one, the mental flow. Mental flow means to be aware and tap into other fields. So basically what I'm trying to say here is, the more we learn a bit from each field and we have more information, the more we can transfer those information and connect those information to the field that we are basically focused on. Let's imagine that we have a business, an online business, and we have certain techniques, we follow them, but at a point we get stuck. Now, when we go back with our mind and remember how many things we know from different other fields, and we transfer those skills and bring them into this field we are focused on and use those skills, definitely it's just a matter of short time to make the things move on. So this is about mental flow. It is about not limiting ourselves with considering that we know very well how to do in a certain field, and we are not interested about other fields, because all fields are interconnected with them. There are so many examples in the history, and on the list of inventors, they basically helped themselves by using imagination, but also transferring different skills from different fields. So this is about being in the mental flow. Be aware of what you can extract and drag from each field and put together and rearrange the things so that you make the things move on. So that was the mental flow. Now let's move to the next one. The next one is the emotional flow. Now, we are all emotional beings. We have emotions. So during the day we go through a series of emotions, from the so-called positive to the so-called negative. I say positive and negative because I don't want to necessarily put a label, in my opinion. So what is the story with this emotional flow? It is about finding that balance between emotions. It is about counterbalancing those so-called negative emotions. And let's take an example. Let's say we feel angry about something that happened to us, or we feel angry because we put so much effort in what we do and things are not working the way we want. And the whole point behind is to balance that anger, to counterbalance that anger with another emotion, with another positive emotion. And how we can do that? It's very simple, to just switch our focus to a positive emotion. So when we start feeling overwhelmed by a so-called negative emotion, and we can do this, we can just switch our focus to something, to a positive emotion, and focus intensely on that emotion until we get out of the previous emotion. Because it is a well-known fact that two opposite emotions, they can't stay together. So whether it's one or whether it's the other, but they can't go together. You can't have love and hate in the same time. You can have love or you can have hate. Same thing with anger and the opposite emotion. So this is about using properly the emotional flow, making a balance within emotions, and make sure that you don't jump and go down and jump and go down with the emotions, within these emotions, because basically this will drag you, or generally speaking, it drags us down. It takes a lot of energy from us, because emotion, what is emotion? It is energy in motion. So finding a balance, counterbalancing a negative emotion with a positive one, will maintain our emotional flow. So number one was the mental flow, number two was the emotional flow. Let's move to the third type of flow, which is the social flow. So what does it mean, social flow? Social flow means to basically pay attention to the people we work with, paying attention to the people we interact with, and especially when we work in a team. We are social creatures, we interact with people every day, and when we work in a team with people, because of the fear of control that I mentioned at the beginning of this video, some people tend, until they learn and become aware of this type of flow, they tend to make force other people to do their way, which is counterproductive from many perspectives. Because when we allow other people to be creative and use their own way to do the things, of course, I'm not talking about people who do something completely different and they don't respect the directions and guidance. No, I'm talking about people who are willing to work for the same project, let's say. But it is about actually allowing people to do the things on their own, in their own way, being creative and using their own way of doing the things, and not necessarily the way we like them to do the things. And when we allow this social flow, when we allow people to be creative and bring their own contribution to the project, we give an additional flow to the project, and we give huge chances to the project to get to the end and get the expected results. So number one was the mental flow, number two was the emotional flow, the social flow was number three. Now the last one, the cultural flow. And I think that the best example with the cultural flow is in music. We see that there are so many trends in music, and usually every year there is a new trend in music, or every 1 year and a half, and usually people or groups that are holding to their own style and do not adapt themselves to the new trend, they tend to get left behind, so to say. So the whole point again is to use properly this flow and get into this cultural flow. And let me give an example in music, and that's my personal example. One of the groups that I like a lot. It's not the only one, but it is Carlos Santana, for example. I like other groups too, but I think this is a very good example, because what I noticed 4 or 5 years ago in Santana's albums, for example, is that he brought a lot of young people in his team and collaborated with them and introduced different new trends in his music, rap, for example. He brought, basically he collaborated in each of those albums, such as Supernatural, for example. He brought young people, and young people who contributed with their own style to his compositions. So this is about cultural flow. Be aware what trend comes and adapt yourself with that trend. It's not about changing yourself entirely. That's not the point. The point is to rediscover and rearrange yourself and readapt yourself with this flow. So that was the last one, the cultural. So let's make a quick recap. So the mental one, which is about connecting with bringing information from other fields and knowing a bit from each other field. The more you know, the better you are with your projects. The second one is the emotional flow. It is about making a balance and counterbalancing usually the negative emotions bursting when it happens. Number 3, the social one, allowing other people to contribute and bring their own signature or creativity to the project you work together to. And the last one, the social flow, which is about paying attention to all the changes and all the trends that are appearing and adapt yourself to this flow, basically. And when you use these 4 categories, you will never get stuck with your business or whatever projects are you running currently. So this was my contribution for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow with another video. Bye for now.